Okay, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to BWTM Sports. If you haven't become a paid member already, get on board, smash the join button. For only $2.99 a month, you will get the opportunity to be on these live chats.
With spreadsheets, it works.
Thank you so much, YouTube, for interrupting yet another one of my trailers. Anyway, so yeah, $2.99 a month, and it allows you to get exclusive behind the scenes footage. You get to be able to come on live streams and do live chats without the troll free zone, so we can have real live debates. And also, you'll get any new interviews that come out, you'll get to see it before anybody else gets to see it. So, you members, you get it first. Of course, you, the subscribers, there'll also be footage out there for you as well, but you will get to see the stuff after the members get to see it. So we'll do a lot more private shows and private live events. And as you'll see today with this particular show coming up, it will be for members only to comment, but it will and ask questions. However, the show is for everybody to watch. We hope you enjoy the show, and this is the shape of things to come. Hope you enjoy the show. So, welcome to 2020. I know this year's already started and we've already done videos, but I wanted to start this particular video with a different tone. This gentleman here, if you don't know who he is Gary Mason. The reason why I'm showing you Gary Mason here is because, believe it or not, he was the first fighter I actually set eyes on and watched box. I mean, actually boxed and built a relationship and followed. When I say built a relationship with somebody who I had my VHS recorder recording and watching this guy fight. At the time, the first fight I saw was him versus Jess Harding. And Jess Harding was managed or promoted by Barry Hearn. Yes, the Barry Hearn. And I remember Gary Mason made a statement. He said, "You bring him up, and I'll knock him down, and we'll change the conversation when I get beat." Something along that. That was the way Gary Mason used to talk. And they always used to be pushing every time Mason was trying to get on with his career. As soon as he won a fight, they'd be saying, "Oh, when are you going to fight Bruno? When are you going to fight Bruno?" That's all they could ever talk about, him and Bruno fighting. And I heard different stories. Some stories told me that Mason duffed up Bruno in sparring. Other people said that Bruno duffed up Mason in sparring. I don't know what the truth was about it. I was a big Gary Mason fan. The highlight fight for me for Gary Mason is when he fought Tyrell Biggs. My dad was never a fan of Gary Mason. In fact, I don't think he was a fan of many British fighters, or any fighters that I backed anyway. And Gary Mason fighting Tyrell Biggs. And my dad said, "Oh, Biggs will beat Mason. Mason's too slow. He's too flat-footed, too stiff." And I said, "Dad, Mason will beat Briggs." And Briggs, got into gear. He started boxing nice and smoothly. And Mike Tyson stopped Tyrell Biggs in the seventh round. And Mason, out of nowhere, threw a 1-2 and knocked Briggs out. Tyrell Biggs, Olympic, I think he was a middle Olympic gold medalist. I think he beat Lennox Lewis in the amateurs. Lennox came back and beat him in the pros, knocked him out in 3 rounds. If I remember that, I could be wrong there. But anyway, Gary Mason, of course, the fight he had against Lennox Lewis, he was an excellent commentator and pundit, and yeah, he had that cheeky smile, but he knew his boxing. So I just want to give credit to Gary Mason, because he was, for me, again, a very important part of my development in boxing and why I love boxing so much. Okay, so hey Denise, hey Danny, hey Hamza, and shout out to Joey, one of our new members, and Mr. Bikerman. Shout out to you as well. Welcome to the club, and welcome and thank you for becoming a member of BWTM Sports. Okay, so tonight's conversation, I'm going to keep Gary Mason up there so I keep on track. And the topic tonight I'm going to be talking about for you all is boxing in 2020. What I'd like to see in 2020 from the sport of boxing. So let's talk about it just for a second, for a moment. And here's some of my likes or desires or wants for 2020 in sport, in 2020 sport. First of all, I think this is really on the subject of more like journalism and boxing journalism, or supposed boxing journalism. I know that in the last decade, or shall I say, at least in the last 10 years, with me and doing the amount of interviews I was doing, there was certainly a lot of interviews that I did that I found on various boxing publications and well-known boxing publications where the interviews were taken, copy and pasted and stuck into publications which people would read afterwards and I'd not be get credit from. We know who you are, you know who you are, we'll keep it as that. I want to see less of that in 2020 and really want to see journalism, people actually making the effort to go out and get their own reports as opposed to copying everyone else's report. And with those reports, I would like to see more investigative journalism within boxing in 2020. I think it's very important that we spend less time just taking things for the value for the value of what the promoter says or what it says in a particular boxing forum. Oh, this boxing forum says this person didn't fail the drugs test. He's obviously a cheat. So we get on Twitter and then we blow our horn and start digging out fighters without actually knowing the truth. And then when fighters come back, they come back afterwards being acquitted. Then we're still saying that they're still guilty. So I think there's a blame culture, but I also think it's better to have investigative journalism in boxing. And when I say that, that also means that when you've got a camera and you've got a microphone and you have a promoter, a manager, a fighter, that we ask more deeper questions. You know, one of the things I learned when I was doing all those interviews all around the world, interviewing all these fighters and trainers and managers and promoters, is that it gave me a good idea as to who I was dealing with, the mentality, what to expect from them. And that's why when we talk about things like Tyson Fury, what to expect from him in terms of his ways of being very contrary, saying one thing today, doing another thing tomorrow. I know that because I've seen a history of this man for a number of years. That's because I took the time to actually not just stick a camera up in somebody's face and say, okay, say what you got to say, this is going to be views, bang this on YouTube, but a bit more actually spend the time to actually know the character of the person and then be able to give in videos, talk about body language and talk about a fighter's bit more about in depth about a fighter. So this is something that needs to be done certainly more in depth. And when promoters make certain statements and comments where this is the best fighter in the world, he's pound for pound the best fighter in the world, this is the best talent in the world. Well, what are you basing that off? Are you just basing it because you're a promoter and you just promote a fighter, or are you basing it off what this fighter has actually done and accomplished? You're saying he's the best prospect in the world, yet he hasn't even fought anybody in the top 500. But he's the best prospect in the world. And he's had about 30 odd fights. I don't understand it. I don't get it. But anyway, neither here nor there. So let's take in the word of things and let us study things a little bit more. Another thing I want to say, and this is not a knock of anybody who's currently in the sport of boxing, I'd like to see people who have achieved a lot more in the sport talking about it. I'd rather see a world champion or multiple weight world champion talking about it than a guy who's failed 3 times for a world title talking about boxing, because that's their ceiling of their knowledge. All right. So I like to hear people who actually become world champions and have successfully defended belts and have made long reigning defense of a title talk to me about boxing. It's all well and good you sitting down there with your suit and tie and you've done no more than win a British title. And I'm not saying that winning a British title is a bad thing. Please hear me out now. But when you're talking about global sports and making certain comments, I'm not saying you can't do that, but it would be great to have people who have achieved more in the sport in the commentary box. So I'm trying to say that if you've boxed, it kind of gives a different impression to if you haven't boxed. So I'm just saying, I'm not knocking anybody who hasn't boxed before, or I'm not knocking people who haven't achieved world championship. But when you're talking about world title fights and world champions, I think it should be appropriate that we have guys that have won world titles talking and win world title fights. Do you understand? And well respected and well accomplished, particularly in pay-per-view events when people are paying for expert views. I really don't want to see two YouTubers sitting down talking about boxing in that sense. Do you get me? It's pay-per-view, and that, especially pay-per-view, you need to be bringing out the best commentators and the best pundits for a pay-per-view event. Don't give me a standard Saturday night pundits, right, for a pay-per-view event. It's a pay-per-view event, therefore I'm paying. I expect top-notch commentary and top-notch punditry. I don't expect you all to sit around the table and give me company man or company men responses because you don't want your boss to boot you out of a job. You understand? You get what I'm saying there. So less of the bias stuff. Okay, moving on. The next thing I want to see in boxing is a new brand of trainers. Are you telling me that Robert Garcia, Virgil Hunter, Freddie Roach, Ronnie Shields, Adam Booth, Joe Gallagher, Dave Colwell, are you telling me that these are the only trainers that are around in boxing? Are you telling me these are the only trainers around in boxing? Again, we have lazy journalists in boxing. If they don't appear on the television, then they're not good trainers. BS. BS. I think we need to be giving trainers that are working with fighters far more credit. We need to learn more about the younger, newer trainers. Look, you've got a guy like Xavier Miller who's training with Dillian Whyte, right? Dillian Whyte is now one of the best. He is one of the best heavyweights in the world, and his skill set has been improved being with somebody like Xavier Miller. How many people do interviews with Xavier Miller? Do you understand? I'm not saying it because Xavier Miller's a friend or is a brother. It's not to do that. The point of the matter is us looking in Britain, in Europe, and across the world at new trainers, and see how where their lineage is, where they've come from, where they've learned. Have they just picked up a pair of pads and started training, or have they come from a long line of other trainers that have been experienced and good trainers? That's one. Who are our next trainers? Who are our next trainers? What's the next batch of trainers? If we don't start following their story now, are we going to wait for Sky or Fox or PBC or Showtime to give us a little snippet of who a trainer is and then shove them in the corner? No, it's you. It's down to you, the YouTubers. You know, because the YouTube is the future in terms of journalism and people finding out about fighters and trainers and managers. If we leave it to Sky and we leave it to Showtime, what will happen is we'll get snippets of the trainer in the corner saying he's in the best shape of his career and saying those things. We don't really get to know who those trainers are. So we really need to know more about trainers, the backstory of the trainers, and as much as it's important about the fighter. And you've seen for us doing like for Stavern when he fought the Wilder rematch, yes, Stavern didn't perform the way we wanted him to perform, but it built a momentum up. When we saw, like when you see James El-Bashir and in the corner with Klitschko and he talks to us, oh, he's working with Usyk. That was a culture we brought within BWTM where we brought the world closer to you by doing that. So it's really something that I would like to see more across other channels. It's nice to see you talking and doing good stuff, and I'm not knocking that. But what I'm saying, let's take it to the next step. Let's bring a few trainers onto the channel. New trainers. Don't be scared to bring new trainers and new fighters onto the channel and talk about them. And another thing I don't like, or I'd like to see in boxing more, fighters that are unknown. Because a person's unknown, it doesn't mean they're a bum, right? There's a very dismissive culture within boxing. Because you don't know a fighter, you dismiss them. For example, when I was interviewing likes of Thurman and Crawford and Usyk, nobody knew about those guys. So when I brought up and I said about Crawford fighting Burns, people said to me, Crawford's a bum. Who's Crawford for? Crawford ain't going to beat Ricky Burns. And I'm looking and saying, are you serious? This guy's going to go on and be a pound for pound champion. This guy's got ill. Keith Thurman, Keith ain't fought nobody. I remember people say, Keith ain't fought nobody. This guy become world champion. Usyk, he ain't fought no one. Goes on to be undisputed champion. Tyson Fury's got 2 left feet. Goes on to be unified heavyweight champion of the world. Do I need to continue? Now we got Boots Ennis. Nobody was talking about Boots Ennis when I was interviewing him. Now Boots Ennis, Boots Ennis. And everyone's talking like they're all talking champion talk now. But back in the day, you all didn't care about Boots Ennis. Now you talk about Boots Ennis. Why should it be that way? Why should it be that way? Why should it be that way? And why should it be that because a PR person gets involved, this is something that happens a lot. And I'm telling a lot of YouTubers now, and a lot of you, I'm telling you that PR, what they do is they shut off smaller YouTubers. That's what they do, shut them off. They use them and abuse them. So when a fighter gets to a certain point, then they've made it. No more interviews with small. You got to do interviews with this tabloid and that tabloid or this newspaper, because the PR person is not really thinking about the fighter. They're thinking about their own career, doing this person a favor, doing that person a favor. It's got nothing to do with the fighter. It's to do with that PR person. Understand me when I say this. I know. Moving on. So less of that, and let's embrace these fighters and build a relationship with these fighters, so these PR people can't come in and push people to the sides. So let's see that more. All right. There's a lot of ignorance in boxing. Credit to fighters in this next era of boxing. I really don't want to see fighters being discredited because of the color of their skin, what country they come from, or what promotions they're under. If a guy's a good fighter, he's a damn good fighter. And if a guy can't fight a lick, a guy can't fight a lick. But please, don't try and push up in my face because a person's a certain background, certain color, certain company, or he is the best pound for pound fighter in the world. When you haven't fought anybody in the top 10, or you may have fought only 2 guys in the top 10, you suddenly the pound for pound the best fighter in the world. No, stop that nonsense. Stop it. Same thing along with the word he's a star. How are you calling a person a star who hasn't fought anybody in the top 10 and most of the time they're out of shape? That's not a star. That's not professional. Because when you set the standard so low for a star, when the star is exposed, and most often a lot of these are hype jobs, when these stars get exposed, oh, well, he was a hype job in the first place. We're giving people far too much credit for doing very little. We need to set the standards a little higher and the bars a little higher. All right? So stop calling people stars in boxing who are not stars. Next. So like I said, let's do a little bit more reporting on lesser known fighters. Okay? Another thing I want to talk about, and this is to all boxing fans, digging you all out here, including myself. Listen, when's it going to change when promoters, when fighters fight on their cards and they constantly getting robbed? When is it going to come a time where boxing fans vote boycott promoters' fights? That's when it will change. When they keep robbing you blind each and every fight, over and over again, all you do is moan about it and you move on with it. It's like repeated abuse. You do nothing about it. What stand are we going to take to dodgy judges, dodgy referees, dodgy decisions? Are we going to keep allowing it to happen because, ooh, well, it happened in the last decade, we should allow it to happen in this decade? Listen, in the last decade, we only just started getting YouTube fighters. But a decade before that, we didn't have YouTube fighters. Do you get what I'm saying? Things move on, and so we need to move on with it. So I think it's very important that we do make some sort of in this decade, either it be an independent organization that deals with these dodgy judging decisions, because it's awful. A guy takes 8-10 weeks out of his time, separates himself from his family, invests in a training camp. People who sit behind keyboards don't understand that. Invest in his training camp only because of one person, a dodgy referee, a dodgy judge, or just a cold-hearted promoter, that a fighter will lose a fight, and we damn well know they win a fight. Something needs to happen about it. Something needs to change. Yeah, another thing. Justice in the sport of boxing. I don't get how one person can be caught for drug cheating and get a 6-month ban, and another person get caught for drug cheating and get banned for 4 years. If you're a drug cheat and you've been found guilty with hard evidence, you need to be banned. And you need to be banned regardless if you are a crowd puller and you bring in millions and millions, or you can just about pay for your bus fare home. It doesn't make a difference. The law should be the law all round. Okay, that's another thing that needs to be brought to the attention of for the future. And I'd like to see more boxing channels talking about these dodgy decisions and more boxing journalists asking questions. Okay, so you work you work for the main spreadsheets, yeah? Okay, so you consider yourself a journalist. Why don't you ever corner any of these judges, eh? Why don't you ever corner any of these referees? Why don't you corner all these promoters? Ask them why. Is it on your card that certain fights go certain ways? Why don't you ever do that? You know why? Because you're in bed with the promoter, so that's not going to happen. You get your cushy seat, you get your free fight, you get your pass paid for, you get your flights paid for. So that's not going to change, is it? No, I didn't think so. So how can I take you seriously like being a journalist? Right. Yeah, I think that's about it for now for me. And YouTubers as boxers. That's what happens when food goes down the wrong way. YouTubers. While it's great that KSI and Logan have made a lot of money in boxing, and they almost like a false economy because they that's it. They are YouTubers. They're not professional fighters, regardless of what the promoter may say, and they may have a professional license. They're not professional fighters, okay? Not in my mind. Okay, and it's a huge disservice to actual boxers who have gone through the amateur and pro ranks that they have to be on the undercard of these fighters. It's not good. YouTube fights are for YouTubers. That's what it is, as far as I'm concerned. And that might sound ignorant, but it makes a mockery of the sport. Unless these YouTubers are prepared to fight pro fighters, like, for example, if KSI is actually going to fight, as light heavyweight, yeah? If he's a light heavyweight, then let's see him fight Anthony Yard. Let's see him fight Anthony Yard. What's wrong with that? He's a professional fighter, is he not? And he's getting paid a lot of money. A hell of a lot of money. No, you can't do that. Why can't you do that? Professional fighter. He's making the money of a guy that's of a world champion, and a very good world champion at that. So, are we going to see that? Well, I don't know. The other thing, while we're talking that subject, and as unrealistic it is, I'm fed up. In the last era, I'm fed up with people fighting out of their weight categories in fights they stand no chance of winning. Kilbrook was never going to beat Gennady Golovkin. Amir Khan was never going to beat Canelo. Okay? Not going to happen. Or fights where guys move up in weight against guys you know are just not good. Rocky Fielding, Canelo. Don't sell that to me as a great fight. A guy that Karen Smith knocked out in a round. Do I have to remind you? Oh, Canelo. Yeah. He's weight world champion. Come on. Come on. Boxing is a business. That's what it's about. That is what it's about. But don't sit down and try and tell me now. And while I'm on that point, I don't want to see no more business deals in boxing. I don't want to see you coming out you're walking down the corridor and you shaking hands with a guy that you're going to fight, i.e. Canelo Kovalev. I don't want to see that. You shaking hands in the corridor. I don't want to see that. Because that leads me to believe that, you know what? Oh, boxing's a gentleman's sport. Really? Okay, well you stick with that. But as far as I'm concerned, right? Two guys who've come to fight. not a business deal. And when I think a business deal is on, I think I'm being conned. I'm being manipulated, and I don't like that. Okay? And Canelo, you people say Canelo's special. Well, the guy that beat him is special. I've not seen Canelo fight anybody anywhere remotely close to Floyd Mayweather to tell me if he's special. Floyd is special. Floyd got beat by Canelo got beat by somebody special. Pacquiao is special. Okay? Pacquiao is special. Special, right? He's special. I don't know if Canelo's special. Canelo's good. But I think this is where the cloud is it's very murky. Very murky. If you fight the same sort of style over and over and over again, it's a bit murky. But that's another conversation I'm going to have, particularly with the members. When is a fight a fight? When is a fight a fight? When has a fight a fight? If a man has got 300 million invested in him, and he's got backing of 300 million, and this contract's been signed, people want their money back. So when you're fighting a man worth 300 million, or an investment's 300 million plus, and the rest, and you're a man that's only worth 3 million, when is a fight a fight? So, and is boxing just boxing anymore? Well, I have to say to you, it's not. There's more to it than two guys getting in the ring and fighting. You know, we've got the promoters, we've got the managers, we've got the deals behind the scenes, the belts, the mandatories, the voluntaries, the various organisations. You know, the agendas, the A side, the B side, the investments. You know, if the fight goes to points, then who's going to automatically win the fight? Or you've got to knock him out to win the fight. Well, no, if I'm out boxing, I should win the fight. No, you've got to knock him out to get the fight because you're fighting on this person's card. But then that's not really a fight, is it? Or it's not a fair fight, is it? So, what are we looking at here? What are we talking about? So there's lots of things to talk about, and I'm going to go in depth about that on another show, probably for our members. But anyway, I think that's about it for now. I thought I'd just bring up a few points there before I head off to sleep tonight. I hope you've enjoyed the show. It is absolutely... Don't you think, members, don't you think it's great that you can just be able to type and be able to have a show like this without any trolls in the room? Isn't it amazing? I think it's great that we can just finally be in a position where we can have a show without it being interrupted by trolls and stupid comments. And so it's just great, isn't it? Isn't it great? I think it's fantastic. Let's see what people are saying in the room before I go. Certainly got to talk to us, see what our members are saying. Hamza says, "What's up? Finally catching you live since I became a member. Well, let me know what you think of what it's like being a member so far, and if there's been any difference for you." Denise Ward's our supporter. As always, Denise, good evening. Hope you're well. Let me know how you're finding things as a member. Danny Brown, the first man to be a member in the actual group. So shout out to Mr. Danny Brown, our first member ever. Cameron Gillen, one of the newest members, says, "That's what I do. I don't post anything other than news I get myself or interviews." Shout out to Cameron for that. I've seen your work, mate, and it's fantastic. Danny Brown says, "Boxing definitely needs strong journalists. It's such a dirty sport." Exactly, says Danny Brown. Denise Brown chips in and says, "I'd rather listen to audio commentary from you and others I like." Denise Walls continues, "Boxing fans also need to get better educated as well. Too much ignorance." Denise Walls continues, "YouTube is where the real, true boxing fans are at." Indeed, exactly, says Denise Wards. Danny Brown says, "Never." It says, "We have short memories." I think it's about something else he's talking about from earlier. "We as fans do have the power to change some things. We do." Denise Ward says, "That was a mockery and grossly disrespectful of the rich history of boxing." You talk about the two YouTubers. I get that. "It's because boxing's a business and not a sport." Yep, it's truly going that way now, Denise. Canelo is special, though. Well, I said before, Denise Ward goes on, "Boxers also need to stay in shape between fights and not be any more than 10 or 12 pounds over their fighting weight." Yeah, and we're calling these people stars and superstars. Get out of here. You're right. They need to professional in and out of the ring. Denise Ward says Canelo's cheated. He has indeed. People got short memories when it comes to Canelo. Denise Ward says, puts them, great show, Ingram. Cheers, says Danny Brown. And Cameron says, bring back FIFA. Well, I did. We had a nice night of FIFA tonight. I need to get to bed because I've got an early. Oh, we might have somebody in the room, actually. Let me see how we do this. Let me see if we can have a trainer come in the room. We have a special in the room. Let's see if we can do this. Xavier, how are we doing? Would you like to come on the show? Yep, I'll bring you on now then. Hold on. Okay, we've got an exclusive here with Xavier Miller of IQ Boxing, and also, hold a second. Sorry about that. We have Xavier Miller, trainer of IQ Boxing, and also working with Dillian Whyte. Am I correct there, Xavier?
Yep, all good.
How are we doing, Xavier? If you want to introduce yourself to the room, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, just coach, one of the coaches at IQ Boxing, and obviously owner of IQ along with my business partner Nick. And I'm currently working with 14 professional boxers and also working with Team White at the moment.
Okay, so first of all, talk to us about how you got yourself involved with Dillian Whyte.
That's a strange one. His brother Dean, he comes to my gym sometimes to train, and Dean said, he wanted to bring Dillian down to do some work with me at some point, and he did that, and then everything just clicked, just went from there, really.
Fantastic.
Pretty straightforward to it. There's nothing more to it than that.
Okay, so working with Dillian Whyte, what have you seen of him up close that you probably wouldn't have seen from him at a distance?
Everybody knows that he's a very, very good fighter. Very, very dangerous fighter. I would say maybe what everybody would not have seen up close is how intelligent he is. He's a very, very, very clever boxer. He lives boxing. He's always watching boxing. We're always talking about boxing, and I think that's what makes him special.
Fabulous. Of course, you were on. Were you on the opposite side of the ring when he fought Derek Chisora?
The second time round,
Yes.
yes.
And how was that? Did you got to see Dillian from two different angles live? I guess.
Yeah, definitely. Sometimes in boxing, two boxers are just made for each other. They're just always going to make a good fight, no matter what. No matter where that boxer is during their career, when those two get together, it's something special. You had Gatti Ward, Ivan Robertson, and Gatti was the same. It always makes for a good fight, and that's exactly what those two did. It's just different strategy the first, second fight, but again, two great fights.
Can you ask me a question? I'm a bit perplexed to this. Why is it every time Dillian Whyte fights, it's got to be somebody in the top 10? Povetkin, they're talking about now, Andy Ruiz. Why is that? Can you explain that to me?
Listen, this guy is a throwback. He's got a throwback mentality. He just wants to fight, he just wants to fight the number one guy, or he wants very good competition. He's already said he didn't have a very long amateur career, and he's doing what he needs to do on the job. And the better guy, the more top 10 guys he fights, the better prepared he'll be when he fights for a title again. So I understand it. I get it. He doesn't shy away from a challenge, we need more guys like that in boxing.
That's great, but the way boxing seems to be built today, the impression I get is like, it just seems to me the impression that every opponent could be the last opportunity for Dillian Whyte to get to that world title fight, because every guy he fights is a guy that could knock him off course or knock him back in the division. because they obviously don't want to give him that WBC title fight. Clearly.
Yeah, but boxing, listen, it's a strange sport, isn't it? But what people have to bear in mind is Dillian is unique. I mean, Dillian he hasn't challenged for a world title yet. Obviously hasn't won a world title yet, but yet he's a pay-per-view fighter.
Yes.
He's a Sky box office fighter. So that's what makes him unique. I mean, if he's that popular now, what would he be like when he wins the belt? And I think that's credit to him due to the fact that he fights anyone. And sometimes, you know, in life you've got to do things the hard way, and that's what he's doing.
Right. This is an opportunity, obviously, for Denise. You read my mind. I was about to ask about Dillian Whyte going the WBA route. I think I've been saying this. I said this when Derek Chisora and Dillian Whyte fought for the first time. I said it was the road to nowhere. I said that this fight would not get them a world title shot back then. And Dillian Whyte didn't get a world title shot. And I said it'd be better for Dillian Whyte to go down the WBA route. Why has he not gone down the WBA route? Of course, members, get your questions in as well. This is your opportunity. Go ahead, Xavier.
Yeah, I mean that's a question honestly that I can't answer. I mean, I haven't been with Dillian that long, and the politics of it, we don't ever get into those discussions. There's a certain way that Dillian wants to box, and he wants to add certain, you know, different dimensions to his game, and that's where he brought me in. But I honestly don't talk to him about those sort of things. He just said he just wants to be a world champion.
Okay. Members, this is an opportunity for you to get your questions in. So Denise, Danny, Cameron, you know, Mr. Journalist Cameron, get your question in. With Dillian Whyte, the man that is the boxer inside the ring and the guy that's outside the ring, is there a difference between the two guys? Because you know him up close now.
They're the same. They're the same.
They're the same.
Yeah, they're the same. That's how you. There is. I've been in boxing since I was 11 years old, honestly, and Dillian is a real one. Okay. How you see him on screen is how he is in real life. That is just Dillian Whyte.
Denise says that it's time Dillian Whyte got into a title fight.
I agree.
So you heard the conversation earlier on, the chat earlier on. We've got it's a member system we've got now, Xavier. So tell me, was there anything in that particular chat that I brought up that was of any interest to you?
I only heard up to when you were talking about Gary Mason.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
I had a flashback of when he boxed Lennox. Yeah, yes. I love Mason. I thought that was great for you to give a little shout out, a tribute to Gary Mason. But after that, you know, my wife's gone into the shopping centre to get some late night shopping, so I kind of switched off for a minute. But yeah, I'm back.
Yeah, so we talked about Gary Mason. I gave tribute because that was the first guy I ever watched box live. It was Gary Mason versus Jess Harding, and the way he knocked out Jess Harding, I was like, wow. And Barry Hearn was was supporting Jess Harding. He said, well, he said, well, the fans can cheer from all they want, but it's him whose head's hurting him at the moment in time, basically. He got knocked out so badly. He says, and then he went on and said, you know, you bring him on, knock him down, and if anything changes, we can have another interview. So, and from that point, I followed Gary Mason, saw him when he fought Tyrell Biggs, knocked Biggs out in the seventh round.
Tyrell Biggs, yeah. That was a good performance, man.
Yeah. Fighting guys like Everett, the Americans, Everett Bigfoot Martin and Mark Willis. Yeah.
Everett Bigfoot Martin, he boxed Michael Moore as well, didn't he?
Yes. So those guys, watching them on not midweek sports, so Grandstand with Des Lynam and Harry Carpenter, and how they'd always push Mason to want to fight Bruno. Oh yeah, when are you going to fight Bruno next? They kept pushing the Bruno agenda all the time. So yeah, and I talked about how Mason was a great commentator as well, great pundit, and real funny guy. Yeah. How do you think Mason would have done in this era with the likes of Dillian Whyte and you know, Tyson Fury, and how would he have done in this area, Gary Mason?
Yeah, he would have done well. I mean, Gary was, you know, he had good basic fundamentals. You know, he was a very, very tough man. I mean, Lennox was hitting him with right hands and he wasn't moving.
Yeah.
So all these guys, especially the guys from the 80s and 90s, that's more my era. But I respect what's going on today. And to me, it's like all these guys, they would have all done well against each other. I mean, until two guys get in the ring, you can't really say for definite. The old timers always like to say the golden era, and the new generation like to say this is better. But you know what? Just respect it for what it is. It's a generational thing. Everyone has time.
Absolutely. Trap House Boxing has jumped in the room, and he just asked a question about the Dillian Whyte versus Luis Ortiz agenda. What's going on with that?
Oh, that's a good question. That talk's been going on for a while now. Honestly, I don't know. I mean, the only thing Dillian should really be concentrating on really is getting his title shot. That's what he deserves. And I think he's gone through enough tough challenges and has earned the right to do that.
Well, that sounds all well and good, but now they're talking about Andy Ruiz next. Really?
Listen, he's beaten Joseph Parker, hasn't he? He's a former world champion, Beats Andy Ruiz, that'll be another one. I mean, all these fights to me, it puts you in good stead against the top guys. I mean, you're talking about the elite, Andy Joshua, Tyson Fury, Wilder. There's certain fights you'll need to have really to get ready for these kind of guys. I mean, Andy Ruiz beat Joshua last year, but remember he did have a very close fight with Joseph Parker. Okay. I mean, these are the fights that make it. So, I think Dillian's had enough of those kind of fights now. But if another one comes along, that's great. I'm not sure who he's going to be boxing in April, to be honest with you. But he's going to be a tough guy. And that will prepare him well for, his title shot. And he will get it.
If I'm a guessing man, based on what I've seen from Matchroom Move in the last decade, I believe Dillian Whyte fights Povetkin next.
And again, Povetkin's he's been in with boxing.
Yeah.
So again, it's another good fight for Dillian. And you see that the fact that he likes to stay busy, again, huge bonus, huge plus. And he's not just picking anybody to get in the ring with. There's a lot of guys that do a lot of talking in boxing. Dillian's not one of those guys, and everyone knows that, and has to respect it.
Yeah. Would you want to see him fight Joseph Parker again or Anthony Joshua?
I would love to see Joshua fight, just because obviously we're UK, and that's one of the biggest fights over here. The first one was so good. They were both very green. They're both mature now, so great fight. Great fight. I would say Dillian to me is probably
improved. Better.
I think he's developed more over the years, and I think he'd probably have the edge over Joshua. But we can't disrespect the fact that Joshua is a two-time world champion.
Two-time? Can I get a two-time?
Two-time.
So
give him his credit, though, isn't it? History books will say two-time world champion.
Absolutely. On the subject of Joshua, now that he is back as champion, there's rumours that he's going to fight Pulev in Bulgaria, and then he'll fight Usyk afterwards. What are your thoughts on all of that?
Yeah. Listen, I'm one of those guys. Like I said, the 80s and 90s is my era. My favourite boxer is Evander Holyfield.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to see undisputed champions in boxing. I want to know who is number one. I prefer if Joshua at this stage now just box Wilder, or the winner of Wilder Fury, and let's have an undisputed champion. If the belts get fragmented after that, and then whoever fights whatever belts, it's a toss up. That's fine. But right now we've got an opportunity, and it's rare in boxing. It doesn't come around often enough. These guys are there. They should really be fighting each other next. That's what should be happening. It's not happening. It's frustrating. Outside of that, I mean, you've got your mandatories. You've got, there's some things you have to do. But as far as I'm concerned, the governing bodies should come together and say, listen, you know what? We've got a chance to do something special here. We should have one champion. We should have one. That's my take on it. So whoever is boxing in the meantime, to me, it has, at this stage, it has little value, in my opinion.
Okay, which leads me on to my next point. Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder meet in the rematch. Let's talk strategy and tactics. Tyson Fury's come up with some make believe idea that he's going to stand in the center of the ring and trade blow for blow with Deontay Wilder. What are your thoughts on that, first and foremost?
It's not out of the question. He's quicker. He's got a unique boxing style that's quite difficult to read and gauge. He can stand in front of guys and make them miss and touch them. And he did stun Wilder a couple of times as well. So I know a lot of people like to ignore the fact that happened. But he did. He did catch him clean a couple of times and Wilder did look uncomfortable. So I could see him doing that. To be fair, when Tyson Fury says that he's going to do something, usually he goes out and tries and does what he says he's going to do. So why would we second guess what he's going to do?
Because
he's not.
Because
he's great.
Go ahead.
He's game, and he is one of the most talented heavyweights out there.
Yeah, he is, but Tyson is consistently inconsistent. He will turn around and tell you he'll do one thing, and he'll go and do something totally different. For like he says, he can knock people out, but who has he ever knocked out of any world class quality?
Yeah, it's like I can't really vision him putting Wilder on the floor. But for him to be standing right in front of Wilder, to be honest with you, his reflexes are still sharp, man. For something that big, you just wouldn't imagine someone could move like that. It's just, he made Wilder miss so many times in that first place. And the two mistakes he made, and I'm not sure, I still can't understand why someone that tall, 6'9", is ducking down from punches. That I can't understand. And he did it twice, and he paid for it. Hopefully they've corrected that, because if he didn't do that, he wouldn't have got dropped. There were two fundamental errors that he made, and no adjustment was made during the fight, or else it wouldn't have happened again later in the last round. But in this heavyweight division, man, I don't know. It's just like, if anything can happen. We've seen the strangest things. We've seen guys flying into the ring on some self-made propeller machine in the whole little matches. We've seen Rahman knock out Lennox. It's just boxing. The heavyweight boxing, it's just exciting, isn't it?
But would it not be suicidal for him to stand in front of the biggest puncher in heavyweight boxing?
Well, it's the way that he could draw leads. If he really is trying to tag Wilder, then you'd have to be close enough to make him do that. Wilder is more of a mid-range boxer. He needs you to be on the end of his shot, to get that full rotation. So I don't know, if anybody can stand in front of him and do what he's talking about, then probably maybe Fury can do it. But I don't know. It could just be all talk, but we don't know. I think he believes that he can easily outbox Wilder and outmaneuver him. So I don't think he's seen anything in recent times that would make him change his mind. He knew in the first fight he was getting him with a big puncher.
But do you
think he was still doing some crazy things in there, like putting his hands behind his back and jockeying for position?
I get all that, but Fury'd been there before. Fury's biggest fight was the Klitschko fight. He'd been in a big arena. He knew what a bigger fight was all about. In comparison, Wilder never had that. So this big fight was a huge fight with Tyson Fury. The rematch, I expect to see Wilder a lot more calmer in this rematch. And those punches that missed out the last time, I think this time it will connect, and the right hand will connect. It was the left hook that caused Fury the problems, not the right hand.
I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. I did an interview the other day, and I said that I don't think Fury could look any better, and I don't think Wilder could look any worse. So I expect a much better Wilder. I expect Wilder to win this fight. But I think anybody from any era that gets in the ring with Tyson Fury, until you figure him out, it's going to be a nightmare.
But
he clearly knows what he's doing in there. He knows what he's doing in there.
Interesting.
Very awkward customer. Seriously, very awkward.
Were you
not to be underestimated. Even when he all this clowning and joking around.
Yes.
Like you said, he's a fighting man. He can fight. he can fight.
Were you not concerned in the last fight you had against Otto Wallin, how Otto Wallin was able to not only wobble Fury, but to cut him and to hurt him?
Yeah, and this is my. I mean, a lot of fighters have patterns.
Yes.
After he beat Klitschko, he did not seem interested anymore. I think after this Wilder fight, the first one, he didn't seem interested anymore. He's a very strange character. There's no consistency with Tyson Fury, so...
That's what I said. He's inconsistently consistent. Yeah. Or consistently inconsistent.
Whereas Wilder, you know what Wilder's going to do. Eventually, he will land and he will drop you. He's consistent.
And what do you make of this change from Ben Davidson to now Sugar Hill?
I don't know anything about Sugar Hill, to be honest with you. I know about Manuel Stewart. I've got I don't know, but at this stage, no one's going to change the way Tyson Fury fights. He's been doing the same thing for years. Like I said, if Sugar Hill can make those small little adjustments where Tyson Fury doesn't come all the way down, almost on the end of Wilder's right hand, then I can imagine it'll do better.
Okay. Did you manage to see Clarissa Shields fight on the weekend?
Yeah.
What did you make of Shields' performance and Habazin's performance?
I thought, Clarissa obviously dominated.
Yes.
I do like the way she's looking because she's working the body really well. Obviously John David Jackson's always been a good coach, and they seem to have chemistry between them. Mm-hmm. She's just getting better and better all the time. She's just getting better and better.
Okay.
And getting more and more confident and more arrogant. And at times that goes a long way. She doesn't believe anybody can touch her. Anyone can beat her. So yeah, it's going to be tough to beat her.
What do you think of Habazin's performance?
I thought she was flat. From what I'd heard before, I was expecting better.
Mm-hmm.
I was expecting a lot more, to be honest with you. But then again, it could be that Clarissa Shields is just that good.
How much?
She's showing separation. I mean, in today's welterweights, we've got 4 or 5 really good ones. But when it was Floyd's time, Floyd showed separation. You could tell he was number one, everybody else underneath him.
Yeah.
Clarissa seems to be in that space at this moment in time where she just seems so much better than everybody else, and someone's going to have to come along and prove her wrong. I don't know who that is.
How do you think she would have done in the era of Layla Ali and all those other fighters back then? Riker. What about with Riker? Riker.
Yeah, I like Ann Wolf was my favourite though. I like Ann Wolf. But with Ann Wolf and Layla, the difference to me is those two, to me, were a lot more aggressive. They were a lot more spiteful.
Yep.
Than Clarissa. So she would have had to go through hell. And I don't know. I slightly favour Ann Wolf and Layla, to be honest with you, just slightly. But then again, look, Clarissa's on how many fights? 9, 10?
Yeah.
I might have a different opinion about another 5 fights. I don't know. But right now, I'd go for Ann Wolf and Layla.
What do you make of the story of Pacquiao versus Spence and Spence's comeback fight?
I think I've said this for a long time. Please do not underestimate Manny Pacquiao.
I've said that.
Pacquiao and Floyd, and it's everybody else. And if no one was convinced before the Thurman fight, you must be convinced now. He is extremely dangerous, and he is quick, and he's going to give Errol Spence nightmares. He will give Errol Spence a lot of trouble.
The fact is that Spence is flat-footed, and that's a problem. You can't be flat-footed with Pacquiao.
Yeah, absolutely. Spence, I think Pacquiao gives Spence and Danny Garcia trouble, serious trouble. Terence Crawford, bit of a Rubik's Cube. That will be a bit more difficult for him to figure out. But Manny Pacquiao is right in that mix, and who would have said that like a year and a half ago?
Well,
the guy is just absolute legend.
But you see, boxing's about timing, and Pacquiao picked Thurman at the right time. He didn't pick Thurman when Thurman was active. He picked an inactive Thurman and then picked the fight then. So it's all about advantages. I'm not saying that Pacquiao wouldn't have beaten the active Thurman, but as you know, boxing's about continuity and activity. And I see why he would take the Spence fight now.
Yeah, and why not? I'm sure if we actually go through Floyd's career, a lot of times Floyd fought guys at the right time. So
Yes.
I don't listen. It's down to the opponent to take the fight or not. I don't really like doing excuses. Thurman was an undefeated young fighter, and Pacquiao's old. I know he's a little inactive, but you still got beaten by an old Pacquiao. That goes to show you how great Manny Pacquiao is.
Yes, certainly does.
Because at the end of the day, Sean Porter and Danny Garcia couldn't beat him. They couldn't beat Thurman.
Yeah.
So he's just shown levels. And we could sit here all day making excuses why this happened and that happened, but he won.
Okay. Here's another fight that's coming up. Canelo versus Billy Joe Saunders.
Again, I mean, you made a great point just now about boxing being, it's all about timing. I think Billy Joe doesn't quite look the same, and I don't think it's got anything to do with age. I think it's motivation, and I think Canelo can fight him at the right time.
Correct.
I think it's the right time to fight him.
Correct. I said that. I said last summer that there are two guys out in the field, Billy Joe Saunders and Callum Smith, and Canelo's watching them both get fat. He watched Saunders get fat, move up to super middleweight. He went, "Let me see how this guy does super middleweight." Right, didn't look great in this performance. We'll have him.
Yeah.
And he just called him in for the slaughter now.
Well, his team, to me, that's good management. Because I thought that Callum lost that fight. I thought Ryder won that fight.
I picked Ryder to upset Callum Smith because I said that as long as Ryder puts Callum Smith back against the ropes, he wins the fight. Callum Smith can't fight if you back him up against the ropes. It's basic. I've said it 1,000 times, but people now believe me because Callum Smith can't fight. Once you put Callum Smith back against the ropes, all he does is tuck up and goes into a shell. He doesn't know what to do. He hasn't been taught what to do.
That's a good call. Yep.
So if Ryder goes back and puts his back against the ropes again, he'll beat him. He'll probably stop him this time round. Because he doesn't fire punches back.
Is there talk for a rematch?
Yeah, they're talking about
for a rematch?
Yes. I think he's gonna be forced into the rematch.
That'd be interesting. But did Callum underestimate in the first round?
No, I don't think he underestimated at all. I think Callum Smith just can't fight when you put his back to the ropes. He never has been able to.
Well, I'll put some money down on Ryder next time then.
If you go back and listen to my pre-fight prediction, I said a Ryder will beat him.
Yeah.
I said, upset call. I said, as you know.
Send me a text next time. I need to make some money. I'll put a bet down. I like this kind of bet.
Oh dear! I should have made a bet on the Habazan press conference. I said that she would come out and say I didn't stick to the game plan, and that's exactly what she said. As soon as the press conference finished, I got to start making bets on post-fight press conferences.
Set it up.
Absolutely. I was talking about how I feel boxing journalists are kind of lazy and they ignore fighters and trainers until they make the big time. I said that what we need to do is have a new batch of trainers and have background stories. I'm fed up ahead about Freddie Roach and Adam Booth and the other trainers in British boxing and in world boxing that we need to know about that are not being credited, and it's time we knew who these trainers were. Your thoughts?
Ask that question again, please. Say again.
I said that we need to spend more time getting to know more trainers rather than the ones that the TV promote.
Yeah, I think that's true. That the fans just want to see the fighters, don't they? Not really interested in the trainers too much.
But
what can I say?
It's important because we need to know the lineage of some of these trainers. Did you just pick up a pair of pads and learn off YouTube, or did you come from a great trainer?
It's true, you know. They should do more, but you see, we need more. Boxing needs more exposure on terrestrial TV anyway. To me, and it's not. We've lost that consistency with ITV and BBC and so on and so forth. So,
but
we need
really,
to go back to that at some point.
if you're honest, the real media now is on YouTube. That's where it really is at. It's on YouTube.
That's true. Yeah.
So it's down to you guys.
I'm trying to keep up with all this social media stuff. It's not easy.
Yeah, but YouTube is where it's at.
Say again?
YouTube is where it's at. That's where it all is. That's where a lot of the it's where it is. When you want to find the latest boxing news, you don't go to for the most part, you go on YouTube. You'll see interviews from all different boxing outlets.
That's true, yeah.
You don't go reading the Sun or the Mail about boxing. You go on YouTube to find information.
That's true. I've got to get with the times, man. I'm still too old school. I've only just started getting like this Instagram business. It's not easy on it.
Okay, just to wrap things up with you, Xavier. What's one thing you'd like to see in 2020 for boxing?
I would like to see. It's most likely not going to happen. I'd like to see Dillian Whyte get a shot at the heavyweight title.
Okay.
That would be my first one. My second one would obviously I like all my boxers to continue doing really well.
Okay.
They're nearly all of them are undefeated, and I'd like to see one or two of them get a TV deal. That's what I'd like in 2020.
Okay, fantastic. Do you want to take this opportunity to give any fighters a shout out?
There's too many. I mean, the ones that's actually involved in title fights and who are experienced at the moment is probably Dennis Wahome. Who's 7-0, is going to be fighting for the English title on the 21st of March.
Okay.
Kay Prosper's defending his English title on the 7th of March in his hometown of Luton.
Beautiful.
And Yusuf Kamari will probably be on a big show. Well, soon to be announced. So, they're the three that are fighting for titles or have got a lot of experience at the moment. The rest of the guys are still making their way up, like Adrian, and Adrian Redmond and so on.
Okay, fabulous. And one other question: Trap House Boxing asks, what about Dillian Whyte versus Big Baby Miller?
I'd love that fight. That's a fun fight.
It is.
But I'd like that fight after Dillian's won a title.
I think so first defense of the title.
Yeah, that would be great.
In Jamaica. In Jamaica.
Let's go.
Yeah?
Let's go. Well, that's where I'm from. Well, my dad's from anyway.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't mind that.
So let's have that. Xavier Miller, thank you so much for talking to BWTM Sports in this exclusive.
You're more than welcome.
Thank you so much again. Take care, champ. All the best.
Soon.
Bye-bye. So there you have it. Back like the old days. Yes, Cameron, let's do that. Let's have that done. Let's do that. Let's probably do that on Sunday evening, Cameron. It'd be great to do that Sunday evening. Right. That's it. That was a bit unexpected. I've got to go and get some sleep because I've got to be up very early morning, get to London. I hope you've enjoyed our boxing for 2020 members. Thank you so much for being in the room. Again, it's an absolute pleasure to be able to do a show where boxing members of the BWTM community can come in and have their say, and without a troll-free show. So, once again, thank you all for watching. Don't forget, become a member. How do you become a member? Smash the join button. That's all you have to do. Smash the join button and next to the subscribe button for $2.99 a month. This has been BWTM Sports. Thank you all for watching. Have a great night. Take care.